Chapter 1. The Abduction. The skies over the crystalline city of Valara shimmered with the iridescent glow of twin moons. Princess Illyria of the Highborn, draped in silvery robes that clung to her slender frame, stood atop the royal observatory, her violet eyes scanning the stars. The Highborn were a proud race, telepathic, nearly immortal, and bound by strict codes of purity. Touching another being, especially a lesser species, was considered an abomination. Illyria had spent centuries in isolation, her only interactions conducted through holograms and mind speech. But tonight fate had other plans. A sudden explosion rocked the palace. Alarms wailed as the sky filled with the jagged silhouettes of raider ships. The Scavengers, a brutal pirate faction known for trafficking in rare alien specimens. Before Illyria could react, a pulse net enveloped her, searing her skin with electric agony. She collapsed, her last conscious thought a silent scream for aid. Chapter 2. The Human Interference. Captain Jace Mercer of the Iron Vanguard had no love for the Highborn. The elitist aliens looked down on humans as filthy primitives, and Jace had lost friends in border skirmishes with their fleets. But when his sensors picked up the distress signal from a Highborn vessel under attack, his conscience overruled his pride. "Lock on to that life sign," he ordered his crew. "We're extracting the survivor." His ship, a battered but reliable frigate, dove into the fray. Pulse cannons roared as they scattered the Scavengers. Jace suited up, his armored exosuit humming as he breached the enemy hull. And there she was, Illyria unconscious, her delicate form sprawled on the cold metal floor. Jace didn't hesitate. He scooped her into his arms, his gloved hands pressing against her bare skin as he hauled her toward safety. Chapter 3. The Outrage. Illyria awoke to the unfamiliar scent of recycled air and the steady thrum of human-engineered machinery. Then she felt it, the lingering warmth where the human had touched her. Her eyes flew open, her telepathic voice lashing out like a whip. "You dare lay hands on me, vermin." Jace staggered back as her psychic scream rattled his skull. His crew winced, clutching their heads. "Lady, we just saved your life," Jace growled, rubbing his temples. Illyria's lips curled in disgust. "I would rather have perished than be defiled by your kind." Jace's jaw tightened. "Fine. Next time, I'll let the Scavengers sell you to the highest bidder." Chapter 4. The Forced Alliance. But fate wasn't done with them. The Scavengers had planted a tracker on Illyria's robes, and now they were hunting the Iron Vanguard. Worse, Illyria's telepathy had been damaged in the attack. She couldn't summon help from her people. "You're stuck with us until we reach Highborn space," Jace said. "Try not to faint every time someone breathes near you." Illyria seethed but had no choice. Days passed in tense silence. She refused human food, recoiled at their voices, and slept standing up to avoid their contaminated bedding. But then, during an ambush, Jace shielded her from a plasma blast, taking the hit himself. Chapter 5. The Regret. Illyria stared at Jace's scorched armor, his blood staining the floor. Something unfamiliar twisted in her chest. "Why did you do that?" she whispered. Jace smirked weakly. "Guess I'm an idiot." For the first time, Illyria reached out, her fingers brushing his. Not with revulsion but something else. And in that moment, she realized the truth. The Highborn's fear of touch wasn't purity. It was isolation. Chapter 6. The Revelation. As Jace recovered, Illyria stayed by his side. She learned of his past, how he'd been orphaned in a Highborn bombardment, yet still chose to save her. She saw the way his crew laughed, embraced, lived. And when they finally reached Highborn space, Illyria faced a choice. Her people awaited her, pristine and untouched. But Jace stood at the airlock, his hand extended. "Stay," he said. Illyria hesitated. Then, with a trembling breath, she took his hand, willingly. The Highborn would call it disgrace. She called it freedom. Epilogue. The Iron Vanguard soared into the stars, its crew now one member stronger. And as Illyria stood beside Jace, her fingers entwined with his, she finally understood what it meant to be alive. She had been saved twice, once from the scavengers and once from her own pride. And she would never regret it. Epilogue. A New Dawn. The Iron Vanguard drifted just beyond the border of Highborn territory, its engines humming softly as Illyria stood at the viewport, staring at the distant glow of her homeworld. The comms crackled with incoming transmissions. Her family's frantic calls, the Highborn Council's demands for her immediate return. Jace leaned against the doorway, arms crossed. "You don't have to do this," he said quietly. Illyria turned to face him, her violet eyes no longer filled with disdain, but something far more complex. "I know," she replied. For centuries, she had lived by the rigid doctrines of her people, untouched, unfeeling, isolated in her own perfection. But in just a few days, this human, this inferior creature, had shown her more warmth than her entire lineage ever had. She reached out, her fingers brushing against his. No telepathic barriers. No disgust. Just connection. Jace exhaled, his grip tightening around hers. "They'll call you a traitor. Let them." The return that wasn't. When Illyria finally opened a channel to her people, she did not beg for forgiveness. She did not apologize. Instead, she spoke the words no Highborn had ever dared utter. "I renounce my title." The council's outrage was immediate. Her family's grief palpable. But Illyria did not waver. "You call touch defilement," she continued, her voice steady. "But I have learned that to never feel another's warmth is the true corruption." The transmission ended. The Iron Vanguard's engines roared to life as Jace input the coordinates for uncharted space. Illyria did not look back. A different kind of purity. Months later, the galaxy whispered of a rogue Highborn princess who had abandoned her throne. Some called her a disgrace, others a myth. But aboard the Iron Vanguard, Illyria sat beside Jace in the pilot's seat, her hand resting in his as they navigated the stars. No longer a prisoner of tradition, no longer untouched, but finally free.